Here you have a young athlete who lost his life in pursuing his passion. He had a dream to participate in the Olympic Games. He trained hard, and he had this fatal accident. I have no words.
On February the 12th, 2010, just hours before the Vancouver Winter Olympics opening ceremony, 21-year-old Georgian luger Nodar Kumaritashvili lost control during a training run on the Whistler Sliding Centre's dangerously fast track. Thrown from his sled at nearly 90 miles per hour, he collided with an unpadded steel beam, suffering fatal injuries. His death shocked the world, raising urgent questions into a disaster that many saw coming and could have been prevented. But what exactly happened that day? Let's talk about it. This is the infamous death of Nodar Kumaritashvili. Nodar was born on November the 25th, 1988, in Borjomi, Georgia. He grew up in Bakaruani, a small mountain town known for its ski resorts, where his family had long been involved in the sport of luge. His grandfather, Aliko, had played a key role in introducing luge to Georgia, building the country's first track in the 1970s. His father, David, was a champion in both luge and bobsleigh, passing down his passion for the sport to his son. Luge, in case you didn't know, is a high-speed winter sport where athletes race down an icy track on a small sled, lying feet first and face up, steering with subtle movements. It is one of the fastest Olympic sports, with speeds often exceeding 80 miles per hour, making it both fun to watch and highly dangerous if things go wrong. With limited facilities and resources in Georgia, he often had to train in less than ideal conditions. Yet, he remained determined, refining his technique and pushing himself to compete at the international level. His hard work paid off when he qualified to represent Georgia at the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver. For him, it was a dream, a chance to bring pride to his country on the world stage. His journey to the Olympics was anything but easy. He competed in various luge events across Europe, gaining experience and improving his rankings. Though he was not considered a medal contender, his qualification for the Olympics was a significant achievement for both him and Georgian winter sports. It was a moment of great pride, not just for his family, but for the entire country, which had few athletes competing in such a high-profile event. Arriving in Vancouver, Nodar was eager but cautious. Concerns had already been raised about the Whistler Sliding Centre, a track unlike any the world had ever seen. It was the fastest luge track ever built, with athletes reaching unprecedented speeds of nearly 93 miles per hour. Several competitors, coaches, and experts had voiced concerns about its safety. Some called it unnecessarily dangerous, arguing that even the most experienced lugers were struggling to maintain control. Athletes had even nicknamed Turn 13 the 50-50 turn, reflecting their perceived chances of navigating it without crashing. Despite this, the track remained unchanged in the days leading up to the competition. Athletes, including Nodar, had little choice but to adapt. He was among many who found the course particularly challenging, crashing multiple times during the practice runs. But like any athlete chasing his dream, he pushed forward, determined to prove himself on the world's biggest stage. On February the 12th, 2010, just hours before the opening ceremony of the Winter Olympics, Nodar took what was supposed to be a routine final training run. The pressure was high, and though he had struggled with certain turns in previous runs, he was focused on improving his time and confidence heading into the competition. As he launched himself down the 1,450 metre track, he quickly gained speed. His sled, barely under control, cut through the ice at a rapid speed. Within seconds, he was moving at a staggering 89 miles per hour, one of the highest speeds ever recorded in Olympic luge history. He managed to navigate the early curves, but the final turn proved fatal. Approaching the 16th and final curve, known as Thunderbird, Nodar struggled to maintain control. His sled drifted too high on the icy walls. He attempted to correct his trajectory, but at such speeds, even the smallest miscalculation had devastating consequences. In an instant, his sled slammed against the wall, flipping him onto his side. The force sent him crashing out of the track's boundaries. Unlike most luge tracks, which are enclosed for safety, Whistler's design left gaps in the upper walls, a flaw that would prove deadly. Before he had any chance to recover, Nodar was violently thrown from his sled, spinning through the air at full speed, and then impact. Nodar's body crashed into an unpadded steel support beam at full force. The collision was so severe that he went completely limp on impact. The sound of the crash was heard through the sliding centre as onlookers gasped in horror. His sled continued to slide down the track without him. Track officials and paramedics rushed to his side within seconds. The scene was chaotic as medics performed CPR on the ice, desperately trying to revive him, but the damage had already been done. The force of the impact had caused severe head and spinal injuries, leaving no chance of survival. At 1:59 p.m, Nodar was pronounced dead. He was only 21 years old. The accident was captured on camera, and within minutes, the footage spread across the world. In the aftermath of the crash, an investigation was launched to determine what had gone wrong. The official report concluded that the accident was caused by an error on Nodar's part, stating that he had lost control of his sled and reacted too late to correct his position. This explanation was met with widespread criticism. Many experts and fellow athletes argued that the track itself was unsafe. Several lugers had already suffered crashes in training, and numerous competitors had warned officials about the extreme speeds. Faced with mounting pressure, Olympic officials took immediate action. Hours after the crash, they made last-minute modifications to the track. First, the walls of Curve 16 were raised to prevent another ejection, and then, the starting position for the men's luge was lowered, reducing overall speeds. Despite these changes, many felt it was too little, too late. The decision to lower the start point in particular was seen as an admission that the original design had pushed athletes beyond reasonable limits. His death sent shockwaves to the Olympics and beyond. The Georgian Olympic team considered withdrawing from the Games, but ultimately decided to stay and compete in his honour. The autopsy report would later confirm people's concerns with the tracks. He died from multiple blunt force injuries due to a combination of factors contributing to the accident, including the track's high speed and its technical complexity. No individuals or organisations were criminally charged or held legally responsible for the tragic death of Nodar. Investigations, including a report by the British Columbia Coroner's Service, concluded that his death was accidental. The coroner report also stated that the accident may have happened due to his lack of experience, but his father angrily said, "I don't accept the statement about Nodar's lack of experience. He wouldn't have won the right to take part in the Olympics if he lacked experience." In 2013, engineering professor Mont Hubbard suggested that a track design flaw, which was a small joint in the curve, may have launched Nodar off his sled. His theory, however, was dismissed due to lack of data. Nodar's tragic death forced the luge community to confront serious safety concerns. In the years that followed, several important reforms were introduced. Track designs were re-evaluated, prioritising safety over speed, and athlete safety measures were improved too, including better protective gear and sled designs. Nodar's funeral took place in his hometown on February 20th, 2010. Thousands of mourners gathered, including family, friends, and government officials. A small choir sang Georgian chants, and his portrait was displayed during the service, and he was buried near a local church he had attended growing up. May he rest in peace. As always, this is not an AI channel, I do everything myself, and if you appreciate my work, subscribe, and if you want to go the extra step to support the channel, maybe consider becoming a member. Let me know what you think about this case in the comments below, and as always, thank you for watching.